Does she exist?
Maybe.
Maybe. Could you be a brain in a jar in a museum?
Maybe, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I'm not sure. I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I can't be sure. I don't know.
Look, you made a statement, I cannot be sure. How are you certain that you cannot be sure?
Because I have uncertainty.
You have uncertainty. Are you certain about your uncertainty?
No, I said I don't know.
Did you hear what I said? Do these women, female, who prefer to have female-only changing rooms, do they have the right to be only females within this changing room? Do they have that right?
I don't think they have the right to discriminate there. But I'm saying that
discriminate based on what?
Discriminate based on perceived.
Perceived?
Yes.
They're saying, we want female-only changing room here, only females, and they feel comfortable, and they feel if anyone who identifies themselves, Mason.
But there's a complete way to fix the problem.
Can I
create unisex changing rooms?
But they're not happy with it.
Easy.
They're not happy with it. So are you going to force them?
I've never seen a trans person or a gender queer person be upset with unisex changing rooms. What do you mean we're not talking about trans? This is a trans issue of access to spaces.
Mason, try to understand. If we have all the females in a female changing room, they're very happy with only female changing room. And they're not comfortable and happy to anyone who is a structurally male, whether they identify with a female or not, to come in and have in the same room to change.
Again,
and they don't want
an issue in the same way that a straight man saying
Mason,
no
can I
gay
finish?
people would be an issue in their shared space.
Can I finish? They don't want a shared changing room. Do they have the right to have a female-only changing room?
I don't think they have the right to discriminate. Again, just build unisex spaces.
So now you're saying they should be forced to accept a unisex changing room.
Are you saying that trans people should be forced to not be allowed to go in spaces?
I'm not talking about trans.
You are literally talking about. You were saying biological females should have a right to discriminate against trans women.
No.
I'm saying that trans women have a right not to be discriminated against. Your right to discriminate does not trump their right not to be discriminated against.
Mason, you're not listening.
I've answered your question.
But you're not listening though. What I'm saying is, you are now infringing on the rights of those individual females who wanted a female-only changing room.
I don't believe that is their right. Their right to discriminate.
So now you're enforcing. So basically now you're forcing them to accept another narrative.
You're forcing trans women to accept being discriminated.
So now So now it's very good. So now the question is, should we force?
Their right to discriminate does not trump other
my friend, just 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Discriminated against.
Mason.
Again, I have a right to swing my fist, but I don't have the right
Mason,
to hit your nose with my fist.
Conflate.
Just as you have the same way to do that.
Don't conflate
my right
issues.
To swing my fist ends at your nose. Your right not to be hit.
Don't conflate issues. So now you're saying.
I'm not conflating issues. I apply that to all of my moral.
Why don't you listen rather than keep on talking?
Mansur, I've answered your question. You keep answering the
same question. But do you know
question.
my question now is?
I do not think they have the right to discriminate.
We have moved on. The question now is about force. Forcing people. Do you accept it's okay to force people to accept an opinion against their wishes?
It's the intolerance paradox. I think that we have a right to not allow intolerance because when you allow intolerance, it diminishes tolerance.
So what's the answer?
I think that you have to allow them into those spaces because it is their right to be there.
What's my question you're answering?
What's
the question you're answering, Mason?
You're talking about whether I think it's okay to force acceptance on people. Yes, it is. It's enforcing human rights. Your argument is no different than the argument of white Americans when they tried to force
Slow down, Mason. Slow down, right? You're not in a battlefield. Speaker's corner. We can engage and learn from each other. So you're now saying it is okay to force people to change their opinion against their wishes.
No, I'm saying it's okay to enforce rights. Mansur, in America, in the 1960s...
Mason, we're now moving into rights. That's why you moved. From choice, enforce, and rights. Who determines our rights?
People do.
So if a group of people determines that you have no right to have these biologically structured, male-structured individual identified as a female to enter into a female changing room, you're okay with that?
Do you think that, so the American government is ruled...
Stop. I am not talking about America. I am not talking about England. I am talking about rights.
Yes,
you said
this is a topic of rights.
So,
the American government is giving doctors the right to discriminate on providing me health care because I am gay. I don't believe they have the right to do that in the same way that I don't believe that you have the right to say, yeah, people just don't have human rights. I don't care about your
just talking over me and shouting is not a good argument.
No, what I'm saying
You're not making an argument.
Agree with your moral framework.
Listen. You said people determine rights. Did you not say that? People. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right. If a group of people determine the rights that you can only go to a female changing room if you're a female, are you happy with that?
No, because I disagree with that morality.
Stop. We are talking about rights determined by people.
Yes, and I'm saying that rights ought to be moral, and I disagree with the morality behind it.
Stop. Look how we're moving from. We're moving from choice, identity, force, rights, now to morality. What you're doing like a chameleon, shifting the goalposts.
No, I'm saying that rights are determined by what we believe via morality that people should have a right to access. Mansur, I'm saying that rights are determined by morality, but just because something is or is not enumerated in rights does not mean it is moral.
Who determines morality?
Just because something is a law does not mean that it is just, that it is right, that it is moral.
So we are now talking about from rights to morality. Who determines what is moral and what is not?
Every individual does for themselves.
Right. So every individual. So if I now decide no female in a male changing room.
I disagree. My morality says that that is wrong, that is immoral.
So now, why are you now saying if rights are determined by morals and morals by individual person, and I am saying my rights, my morals, and this is my opinion, should you be able to now enforce your opinion against me?
If it's protect other people, yes. If you said that you don't believe women have the right to speak,
do you see how you've done? Your position is a circular position.
It's not. I've been very clear in it. If you said women do not have the right to, let's say, walk on the street on their own, I don't have to agree with you. I am more than happy on forcing my opinion that women have equal rights to men.
If a country decides what is moral and what is not, would you accept?
No, America decided slavery was
moral. Who's talking about America?
I don't accept that. If a country decides if it's moral or not, would you accept?
Look,
no, I wouldn't, because laws are often not just. Laws are not moral. Because I'm arguing from a paradigm that I am more familiar with.
Why are you so obsessed with America?
Because I'm arguing from a paradigm I am familiar with.
Right. So I'm going to give you a paradigm that you're not familiar with. So let's talk about this. If a country decides what is moral and what is right, would you accept?
No.
So what is the basis of acceptance then?
The basis of acceptance is whatever you believe it is. Everyone has a different opinion.
So if I believe no female should enter a male changing room, then it's okay, right?
That's your belief. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right.
So you only agree with what you think is morally right?
Yes, I agree with what I morally believe in.
Right. So if you think here, I think smoking heroin, ganja and hashish is okay, it's okay.
According to you it is.
No, according to you.
I don't believe it's objectively okay or not.
Wait.
Just because either of us think that. I don't believe
you're confusing.
Objectively.
If you think now, I can have controlled drugs in public and possess controlled drugs in public in UK, it's okay, right? According to you?
One more time, sorry.
In the United Kingdom, if you say, I feel, in my opinion, it's okay to consume controlled drugs like heroin, right? Narcotics, which are controlled by different schedule within the law.
I don't care about that. Go for it.
Would you say that you'd argue against the police and the country and say, it's my right because I feel it's okay?
Yes, I advocate for the decriminalization of drugs in America. They're used by a tool of the police to keep poor people down, poor people predominantly being people of color in America. The war on drugs saw the classification of all of these drugs into our class system specifically to keep poor people down, people of color down. So I argue for the decriminalization. The whole point of societal change is people with their subjective moral opinions challenging the status quo so we can move forward.
So basically you're saying, whatever you feel is good for you. You determine what is good and what is bad.
Everyone determines what's good or bad for themselves.
Right. Who created you?
My mom.
And who created your mom?
Her mom.
And eventually who created the first human being?
Whatever creatures we
Who created the world?
Physics, gravity.
Sorry?
Physics and gravity. The forces of nature
Who
eventually saw the star stuff of stars
who created the forces
pulled
of
together
nature?
because of gravity when they came together.
Mason, who created the forces of nature?
No one.
Does that make sense to you? You are now being very profound so far. Now let's see how logical and consistent that you are. Who created the cosmos?
I don't believe anyone created the cosmos.
So the cosmos was always there?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, that's what. If it was not always there, could it create itself when it was not there?
Never said it created itself. I said I don't know.
Remember what you said?
I don't know.
I'm going to take both of your position. Maybe it was always there, maybe it wasn't. There's only two options you've given. Is there any third?
Maybe.
Like what?
I don't know. That's the whole point. I
If
don't know how the universe came into being.
If you don't know about an opinion, then you can't put it on the table because we can't examine it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the opinions that you put forward on the table, that the universe was always there, or maybe it wasn't always there.
I'm saying I'm not accepting your premise that those are the only two options.
If you want me to examine another option, put it forward on the table. I will examine.
I'm saying I'm ignorant of other options, so presenting two
Then
like they're the only two options is
don't
fallacious.
don't talk about some things that you have no idea about.
I'm saying that because we don't know about it, you can't present these two options like they're the only two options.
You
We don't know if there's a third or a
you
fourth or
cannot have a
quintillion.
position that I can assess when you haven't got a clue about it.
That's my whole point. I've not got a position because I am ignorant of how the universe came into
Could you
being.
be a brain in a jar in a museum?
Maybe, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I'm not sure. I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I can't be sure. I don't know.
Look, you made a statement, I cannot be sure. How are you certain that you cannot be sure?
Because I have uncertainty.
You have uncertainty.
How
Are you
come-
certain about your uncertainty?
No, I said I don't know.
Did you hear what I said?
Are you certain about your uncertainty? I'm uncertain about my uncertainty just as I'm uncertain about my certainty.
What does it mean you're uncertain about your uncertainty?
It means I don't know. It means I'm capable of admitting when I don't know something.
Yeah. So you could be non-existent either, right, at the moment? Does she exist?
Maybe.
Maybe. So he thinks you probably don't exist. Maybe.
Did I say she probably didn't exist, or did I say I'm not sure she's actually there? For all I know, I've suffered some psychotic break in a mental hospital, and this is all due to my imagination. I can't be sure.
You can't be sure. Is there a way of making ourselves sure?
There are ways of achieving near certainty. You could measure it. You could tangibly.
So you can't be
I don't
sure
think
about
our eyes
anything.
are completely